Hello, GT7 players and YouTube viewers. Join me on another race for Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race B. And funny enough, it's been almost a year, just over a year, since I've actually raced in any kind of competitiveness of this game. I was thoroughly disappointed, to say the least, when Gran Turismo first released. And actually, now with a lot of updates and changes, I'm actually enjoying it, and it's been a fun experience. This last couple of weeks of updates and new cars, a few new tracks in there, the physics engine being changed has actually made it more enjoyable experience. So you join me today, Daily Race B. It's actually my first attempt, and I actually fortunately set a very fluky 1 minute 24 for me anyway on this track. My driver rating's a D. I haven't raced Gran Turismo in almost a year, so it's been the last week or so practicing on various different tracks and cars and getting used to the physics and the braking and etc. And I was lucky to set 124, which was my fastest ever on Laguna Seca in a GT3 class, and I started it first, and quickly that it got dissipated and I got into second place. Even so, I battled through, knowing that this track is quite difficult. It's notorious for scalping many cars and sending you into a sand dune bin of nowhere. I was a bit more careful on the braking, especially when the tyres need to warm up in the opening lap. It takes quite a bit of knowledge of the track and knowing where the potential pitfalls are. Unfortunately, as you'll see here, I was going to literally bin it too fast into that Lamborghini, and I was a bit annoyed with myself, so I let him take over, and then quickly you're falling back into third, fourth place almost, and we saw the race leader that took over me. The Porsche went spinning out because the corkscrew literally will screw you over if you're not careful. So those first couple of laps, you've got to be careful with the car and you underdrive it. And again, I didn't brake well at all in there, overbroke, missed it completely, and that put me into a worse position behind the pack, the first three there. And I had some doing to do, because 5 laps is not a long time, and this track will punish you for that. So I wasn't going to start as a back marker like I did in the last race, and I thought, this is where you really do need to set a good time. And luckily I wasn't in a higher split lobby. I really thought if I set a good time, I might be in the bottom of a much better racing lobby, and I'll just get owned and be sitting as a spectator basically. But luckily I started at the first, which is again more pressure. But the car can kick out on many occasions, and that's the fun thing about the Porsche. But I do like its handling, so I picked the Porsche because I found it most easiest to handle. There are other cars I think people will pick, such as the Nissan GTR. FR cars over the corkscrew are obviously going to be more of a weight balance favourite rather than an MR car. I saw a lot of drivers using things like the Italia GT3 Ferraris or Lamborghinis, but I don't like the Lamborghini so much, so I stuck with the Porsche, as it's known for great handling, but a little bit slow on the straights. And as we get through into this race, we'll see that the Porsche's handling does save me quite a few times, and sometimes you do have to realise that you can't automatically go into that race mode where you've practiced on a time trial event or a sort of a non-race specification or with bots or whatever. It totally changes when you play a daily race. I swear that they do something different to the settings when you're on a daily race to track real settings and tyre wear, because I've noticed from all the years I played sport that tyre wear and the racetrack settings always seemed a bit more extreme than what they say it is on the daily race specifications. So I kind of got used to setting up a much higher tyre wear and being much more careful of the track limits and where the pitfalls are for loss of traction, especially on Laguna Seca with there's so much sandy areas. So yeah, you have to kind of drive a bit more conservative in some parts, but then you will lose time. And I found that going on the fastest sort of lap times of 1:26 before, when I was setting it on time trial with different cars to see which cars handled or went quicker, you have to see which car will give you the most consistent pace and safe driving and keep within reasonable tyre wear and tyre grip situations. So I found that after all, the cars like the Ferrari, which did enable me to set a quite fast time, were unreliable, especially over the corkscrew section. And I found that the Porsche overall was a thoroughly much more reliable drive in the end. And with the cornering that you do in this track, you do have to rely on some good cornering skill and speed. And some of the faster cars like the GTR kind of lose out. A BMW, I tried it, was useless, too heavy and sluggish. So I wasn't prepared to go in that. I don't have the Corvette, so I haven't had the opportunity to see if that was any good. But my experience with the Lexus and any other heavier FR cars, that they were nerfed in comparison to things like the Toyota Supra and others that are oftenly chose for daily races. And I will say this was an enjoyable race, but again, not the most spectator interesting one, because once you're in this position, you're kind of just trying to play catch up and hope that one of those two up in front will kind of make a mistake or hit a dune of death or something like that, and then give you an option to sort of catch up and make up the time of like 5 seconds behind the 911 Polish driver. I kind of think, well, you know what, that's take some doing, but it's possible. And last week's race that I was in, which I didn't upload at the moment because it was again one of those situations where I haven't played one every year and I didn't know whether I would set a decent time or whether it'd be an interesting race. I started from the back with no race lap time at all, so I was going to the back and just wanted to take it easy and see how the cars were handling, how drivers were driving in that particular D class. And it wasn't too bad, but again, a lot of kids were swerving out, losing control, because they hadn't obviously practiced enough from tyre wear that was on that race. But this one was interesting, probably not the most popular one. Everyone's really going to go for Group C at Spa, but I'm not a big fan of Group 4 cars. I don't really like the Group 4 cars. They always seem a little bit annoying to drive and slow, and just don't have that extra finesse, and they don't look as good as well. I do like the cars that look as good, and I do have to say, this Porsche livery, fantastic from the guy who did that. I wish I'd put his name on there before, but you'll be able to find it on there on Gran Turismo 7 on the livery selectors. It's a fantastic livery, and top notch. He's done a very good job. So I would have to say that I'm probably going to get back into Gran Turismo 7. I keep saying sport. That's back in the day. Back into 7 again. Now that they've got the BOP situation fixed, I think that's definitely made it much more enjoyable for the casual player. I do think that the enabling car editing and basically setups was always going to favour the mechanically minded people who knew how the algorithm works and how to get around it with suspension and physics of the car. And I think that not a lot of people have that time to get into that sort of thing and piss about. It's hard enough learning the track with a different car every week to know which ones will set good times and which ones with good tyre wear, advantages, disadvantages, etc. So yeah, I think for making it more competitive to everyone, it was a good idea to bring BOP and just make it a bit more fun again. So it's good to see Polyphony have done something to address issues in the past since the game opened, and I'm actually starting to enjoy it. Unfortunately, I was getting into Assetto Corsa, and I should have given that a bit more time, and I will probably get back into that at some point and try and dedicate time to qualifying. I'm still only on safety rating 67 or something. I need to get to 75 before I can actually go online properly, and so that's why I haven't bothered really going into Assetto Corsa. But I will be doing more Gran Turismo races, and hopefully if you are a regular of my channel or do like Gran Turismo 7 in general, stay tuned and keep an eye out for some vids I might upload. Alright, thank you guys, cheers, bye bye.